Hey guys, once again welcome back to Swat Studs. This is the fifth and final part of the HulkBuster series. In this video, I'll be explaining how to add scratches and dirt into the HulkBuster. Since the methods I'm using in this video are the same and are already explained in detail in the previous videos, I hope I can go through it without in-depth detailing. If you guys haven't watched the previous versions of this series, go check it out. I've put the link in the description. And thank you all for the support that you've shown for the tutorials. So let's get started. So we have added the edge wares and all on this HulkBuster. So now let's go back to Node Editor where our shaders are. And if you think it about the scratches, the thing is, just like edge wares, which are the paint which is or the inside parts which is getting visible once there will be some friction or scratches happens on the edges of the surface. So the same way, it will be the same shader which we've created for edgeware that will be visible when a scratch happens. So it will be the same shader so that we can use the same edgeware material which we have created for the edgewares as the base shader for the scratches. So let's go to the HulkBuster layer material and let's create enable layer 3 and rename it as scratches. And we can add the same edgeware material as the input shader for layer 3. And now for the mix or the mask, layer mask, we can add a scratch texture. So here the difference from what we've been doing till now is that till now we were using procedural nodes which are already in Maya for the creation of the details or breakups. Now, as the scratch texture is not available by default in Maya, we are going to use a texture map for the scratches. So I've already downloaded some texture maps from the internet. So these are very it's not a very higher resolution scratches because we'll be tiling it a lot. So even the smaller scale scratches will work for us. But the thing is, if we don't have enough detail on the lines which are scratches, when we are doing color correction like AI doing the contrast, changing the contrast with AI range or something, we may lose some details on the scratches. So if you want to use any textures procedurally on any surface, make sure you have enough detail on the texture map so that it won't break or it won't get miss when we are doing the tiling and also the color correcting or range changes on the texture map. So let's first add the this texture into Maya. So I'm just clicking and dragging it into the Node Editor. So we have a texture map here. And just like what we have been doing with the fractals and all, I am going to add an AI triplanar so that we will get the textures on 3D space. I'm going to keep the code space as object. And now I'm going to again put an AI range just to adjust the contrast of the texture map. Now I can put that into the mix of the HulkBuster layer material. So I'm adding the R channel into the mix 3. Now let's just try render and see what results are we getting. So if I isolate the AI range here, you can see I think the details are very small or very high because there is nothing visible clearly on this one. So let's try triplanar. Okay, let's try scaling it down. Yeah, now we are seeing some scratches. And now what I can do is I'm going to adjust the input min and max values so that I get some clear black and white value information in the mask. So let's see how this is coming on the object. So yeah, we are getting pretty good scratches, but what I am trying to do here is I'm going to apply two different scratches, one for smaller scratches and one for the bigger scratches. So this scratch I am going to use as a smaller detailed scratches. So for that the scale should go again more down. So I'm going to scale it down to 0.005. Okay, like I said, always this is an experimental thing. When we are doing something procedural, you have to adjust some values, see it how the values are contributing to the render, how it is coming on the render, and adjust it again. You have to do it again and again until you are satisfied with the result it's giving. So that's what I'm doing here. So now you can see it's smaller, but I think it can go smaller again. So I'm doubling the scale value. So when it gets smaller, it's getting disappeared. So you can adjust the AI range again. See, now it's coming more like a pattern, which is not what we want. So this now become like an obvious thing which is coming overall on the surface. We don't want that, so we can again adjust the values. I think the scale is a bit too much. I think this is looking okay. Like, this is subtle, but not too subtle and not too much. It has a kind of it's kind of blending into the paint with the textures, so that is good. We can again try reducing it. So I'm blocking it on a scale of 0.06 and a range value of input max 0.1, which is kind of good for me. Like I said before, this is an experimental thing, and the quality of your output depends on the settings as well as the texture quality. So if you want the scratches to be like in a different pattern, you should check the internet and download a different pattern to get a different result. So let's add the second scratch now. So for that, before adding it into the node editor, I'm going to create an AI layer RGBA for the scratches. And I'm adding the AI range as the first layer, and I'm changing the connection to the layer RGBA. Now I'm going to take the second scratch and I'm going to add it on. So we have to create an AI triplanar again. An AI range. Now we can connect it to the second layer. And I'm gonna change the operation into screen. So what screen does is, since it is a mask which is act as an alpha channel, so the alpha value shouldn't go beyond a value of 1. So it should be a value between 0 and 1. So if I change the layer operation to plus, smaller scratches beneath it, and the new layer, if those values adds up to more than 1, then the alpha will affect, and it shouldn't happen. The alpha value should be always between 0 and 1. So screen clamps the values between 0 and 1. If I put it into plus, it will be unclamped. So let's say the first layer alpha value is around 0.76 and the second layer comes around 0.7. Then it will be added together, which gives a value of 1.3, which is more than 1, which shouldn't happen on an alpha channel. So when putting it on screen, it will clamp the value to 1 if it goes beyond a value of 1. So that is why I'm using screen operation here. If there was any other RGBA channels, I should be using a plus value, a plus operation, but it depends on the situation. Sometimes I use screen, sometimes I use plus. So let's see how that is coming. So again, we have to adjust the scale. For clearly seeing it, I'm disabling the smaller scratches first, just to see how the values are coming. So here also, I think we have to adjust the input max to a higher value, lower value, to get the scratches more visible on the HulkBuster. So if you see here, these are really big values, but I think we'll be facing a pattern which is happening all over again and again in this particular texture map. So to avoid the repetition of the pattern, like if you see here, you can see the pattern, we can clearly see the patterns which are getting repeated here. So for that, I can use the cell operation or cell attribute on the triplanar, which gives me the attribute of rotation, which will rotate each of the tile of the texture, so that it will give more variation onto on this scratches. So I can also blend the edges more to blend it in more on the texture. And I think I can reduce the scale a bit more. Let's see how it's coming. So yeah, see, the scratches are coming really nice, but I think I can get rid of those smaller scratches a bit, because we already have smaller scratches on another layer. So when all of them are coming together, and when I enable the first layer, all that you've seen will be scratches all over the body. So we don't want that. We want the randomness to that scratches, that it is happening somewhere or only in a few places. So let's save a screenshot of the default one, and let's increase the value to 0.01. So let's see. So when we increase the input mean to 0.01, any value which is below 0.01 will become black or 0. So we are getting rid of those values from the scratches. So now we have the bigger scratches on the HulkBuster. Let's re-enable the first layer and see how both of them are coming together. So you can see it's very subtle and it's looking very natural and realistic on this one. So if you want more control, like when the scratches happens, there should be bump which is happening accordingly. So if you want more bump visible on this, since we are using the edge wear material, when I adjust the edge wear bump, it will affect the edge wear shader also. So if you want more control on the scratches, you should be duplicating or creating a new separate material for the scratches. So I think you get the idea how to do this, but I'm not going to do this on this tutorial because I've already shown how to add bumps and all. So let's stop this creating scratches here, because this will be the final output of the scratches. Because I've already said that this is a demonstration of my workflows on how we can create these details onto the surface easily on a procedural way. So this is a demonstration of how these things are created, not how to replicate the exact clone of the HulkBuster which I have already created. That is why I'm not duplicating any values from my previous shaders. I am creating it from the scratch, and I'm doing a separate tutorial in my native language Malayalam also, which is another scene file created from scratch in Malayalam. So even though these two versions won't be matching together, because I am seeing things and experimenting and changing values, and I fix values when I see that this is looking better or this is what I need. I am satisfied with my results. So let me do a quick render and see how the scratches are looking on the HulkBuster. So this is how the final HulkBuster shader looks with the scratches added. And this is pretty satisfactory for me. And I hope you guys get the ideas how to create this kind of procedural details, even with the texture maps. And now we can start adding the dirt. So just like I have explained how the edge wears happen only on the convex edges, the dirt will be accumulating only in the concave parts of the edges. So that is where a lot of gaps there, like these gaps and these kind of parts, those are the parts where more chances that dirts are accumulated and not possible to get removed. So we'll be again using an AI curvature for creating the dirt or dust on the HulkBuster, and we'll be adding only a flat color. We can add only a flat color for the dirt, or else we can create variation with adding fractal map onto the base color and blending two different colors with the fractal. So now we can start creating the fourth layer, which is the dirt onto the HulkBuster. So I'm creating a new shader, a standard surface, and I'm putting it on layer 4. And I'm creating a blend color first, and I'm going to create a dirt color here. And again, to blend these two colors, I'm creating a fractal and an AI triplanar for the fractal. And again, an AI range. And I'm adding the blend color into the base of the dirt material, and I'm putting the specular roughness to be around 0.45. I want some amount of specular roughness because the dirt can mix with the oils or grease, because it's a machine. So that's the concept that I'm trying to create. So there will be some kind of speculary wet feel to the dirt which is accumulated on the surface, and that's why I'm putting a value, because we need some amount of specular reflections to pass through when we are doing the turntables and all. So if we want, we can add the same fractal that we are using for the color variation to the specular roughness also. So I'm putting the max value to 0.45 and min value to 0.3. So I'll be getting a roughness variation between 0.3 to 0.45 on the specular roughness. So I'm adding the roughness AI range into the specular roughness slot. So this is a simple shader, or if you want, you can even add a bump map for the dust or dirt. That also will work good if you want more detail on this. So I'm not going to do this for now. Let's just stop the shader on or here, and let's do a render. So yeah, you can see that we are getting specular variations and color variation a bit on the dirt. And now let's create an AI curvature. And remember, we put the output type to convex on when we are creating the edge wares, and now we want the inner parts to get these dirt. So I'm changing the output to concave, and I'm putting the samples to 5 to get more samples to avoid noise. And I'm adding its out color R into the mix 4. Now I can increase the radius to get more visible surfaces for the dirt. So I'm reducing the spread so that these spreadness can be reduced a bit. Let's see how it's working. Okay, you can see here we are seeing some level of dirt details, but it's not enough. I think when we are adding the multiply values to higher values, the values go beyond 1, which gives us this false kind of colors. So we can try putting an AI range after AI curvature before adding it into the mix, and we can try clamping the values from there. Yeah, when I increase the spread, we are getting some decent values. Now it feels a bit too much. So what I'm going to do is this one, it feels like a rust kind of dust. This color feels more like a rust than the dust or dirt. So I am changing the colors bright luminance again to a darker value so that it feels more like a dirt. So if you compare it, you can see it's very subtle, but it gives a good natural feel to the shader. So you can see without adding any breakups, it already gives the feel of there is a good amount of variations on each part. So on these parts, I think the radius is going a bit too much. So let's try decreasing the radius. And now I think I may need a fractal to break these things. Let's look at the face, how it's coming. So one thing that you'll notice is that when we add it, the eyes are getting a lot of dirt inside, which again, we lose the illuminance or emission of the eye, and that will be the same case I think in here also. So for this, what we can do is we can create an extra shader for the emission and put it on top of the scratches and dirt, so that it will be not getting affected by the scratches or dirt. So let's quickly create an AI standard surface, or here for just a flat color I can use an AI flat shader. So this works exactly like emission. So I have to now check the emission mask here. So layer 5 will be emission. And I have to put the layer mask. So I'm using the user data mask, which we have painted earlier, and adding it on mix file. So now you can see we got the details back on our eyes. So now let's do a final render of the final shader of our HulkBuster. So this is the final finished shader of our HulkBuster, and I think this looks pretty good. I hope all the tutorials videos were easy and simple for all of you, and these processes are really straightforward, and there is not much complicated things, just some nodes which you have to make familiar with, which will be happening if you continuously practice with it and try to do more than just replicating the same thing. You can try creating a new robot of your own. You can download any free model from the internet and try all these workflows on that particular model. You can create a miniature HulkBuster with that robot if you want. So try all those things, and I hope to see some better artworks from you all with these methods. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, hit a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share it with your friends who are interested in look dev and lighting. If you guys have any doubts, feel free to leave a comment. I'll definitely leave a reply. Subscribe to this channel for more tutorials, and I will see you soon with another exciting tutorial. Till the time, this is Swat signing off. Bye.